Shalom, everyone. How to study the Bible. We all know that we should pay very close attention to the context of what we're reading so we can understand what the Bible is trying to tell us, what the scripture is trying to tell us. But not only that, we also need to put the pieces together. We may get something in Matthew, right? And we need to go to Luke or John to get the full understanding of what we're reading. So just reading one chapter and think, oh, okay, I understand what they're reading. That's not enough. We have to use precept on precept, like the prophet Isaiah says. And as we go through this lesson, we will see why this is very important. Because you can be taught wrong by just sticking to just this one verse or this one chapter. So let's see what the prophet Isaiah says. And he says, who shall teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Doctrine means teaching, right? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Okay. Verse 10, it says, precept must be upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little, there a little. So he's saying, look, this verse, that verse, this verse, that verse, right? Here a little, there a little. You may have to get a puzzle piece from this place and get the other piece from that place. And we'll see, this is very, very important. This is key to understanding the Bible. That's why we need the whole Bible, right? All right, so let's start at Matthew. Let's go to Matthew 21. And this is when the Messiah cursed the fig tree because it wasn't bearing no fruit. Okay, we'll start at, this is Matthew 21, we'll start at 19. Okay, and it says, and when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it and found nothing thereon but leaves only, and said unto it, let no fruit grow on thence henceforth forever. So he cursed the fig tree. He's saying nothing's going to go on it forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. 20, verse 20. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, how soon the fig tree withered away. Now, if we just stick to Matthew's account on the fig tree that the Messiah cursed, we'll think like within a second the fig tree was gone. It was like withered away within a second or a few seconds. But this is actually not what happened. What we need to use is precept on precept. We need to get the other puzzle piece from another book to get the full understanding. So what we have to do, we have to see, is there other account of when the Messiah cursed the fig tree? Well, yes, it is. Let's go to Mark. Mark 11. And it's verse 13. Okay. And seeing a fig tree afar off, having leaves, he came. It happily he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of figs was not yet. And Jesus answered and said unto it, no man eat fruit of thee henceforth forever. And his disciples heard it. So he cursed the fig tree. This is Mark's account of him cursing the fig tree. So look what happened, verse 15. And they came to Jerusalem. So they left. After he cursed the fig tree, they left and went to Jerusalem. And Jesus went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold, and brought in the temple and overthrew tables of the money changers, and sat of them that sold, and seats of them that sold doves. Verse 16. And would not suffer that any man should carry any vessels through the temple. Verse 17. And he taught, saying unto them, is it not written, my house shall be called of all nations a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. 18. And the scribes and chief and priests heard it and sought how they might destroy him, for they feared him, because all the people was astonished at his doctrine. Verse 19. And when eve was come, so basically he went into the temple, he overthrew the tables because they were selling stuff in the temple, right? So evening came, he went out of the city. So he left Jerusalem during eve, him and his disciples. Verse 20, look what it says. And in the morning, so basically evening passed by, he went into the temple, he did all that. Now in the morning, as they was passing by the fig tree, look what happened. In the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree. So this is when the disciples saw the fig tree after the Messiah cursed it. This is like half a day or a few hours later. The fig tree dried up from the roots. And in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. Verse 21, look what Peter says. And Peter calling to remember. So Peter remembered when the Messiah cursed the fig tree because there wasn't no fruit on it. And look what Peter says. And Peter calling to remembrance unto him, Master, behold the fig tree which thou cursed, it withered away. See? So this wasn't instantly, like in a second. Like if we would just stick to Matthew's account, you'll probably have that understanding. This is why it's essential to put all the puzzles together. Just like the prophet says, precept must be upon precept, precept on precept. Here a little, there a little. So we got a little piece from Matthew, and now we have another piece. We put it together from Mark, and now we have a full understanding of, yeah, it didn't happen in a second. So yes, precept on precept is very important. Okay, so let's look at another example of using precept on precept. Why is it very important? Let's go to Exodus 24. Exodus 24. And this is about the children of Israel seeing God. And we'll start at verse 9. And it reads, Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nahab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw God of Israel, and there was under his feet as it was a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in its clearness. Verse 11. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand. Also they saw God and did eat and drink. Okay, so what we just read, it said basically they saw God, they was happy, they ate and drunk, they saw God. Right? There's not only this was Moses, this was 70 of the elders. So if we just stuck to reading Exodus 24, we'll assume that, okay, these prophets, men, just saw God. It was no problem. But when we go to Exodus 33, let's go to Exodus 33 real quick. Here is Moses begging God to see him. Begging. So some people that have problem with the Bible, atheists, or they'll use this and they'll be like, well, this verse says they saw God, and we go to Exodus 33. Moses, you can clearly see Moses didn't even see God. And this is where we see intentions is very important too, because the Bible also says, if you seek me, you shall find me. Well, isn't this seeking using precept on precept? We're going to this book, we're going to that book, trying to put all the pieces together because we want to understand God's knowledge and wisdom. Right? Well, some people, they'll see this and do that. Oh, see contradiction. Because they really don't want to seek for real. They want to see fault in scripture. Right? So let's read it. We are Exodus 33. We're going to verse 18. And look what it says. And he said, I beseech thee, this is Moses speaking to the Most High, show me thy glory. So Moses is begging. He's saying, I want to see your glory, Father. Verse 19, look what it says. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee. This is the Most High responding to Moses. And I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. And I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. Verse 20, look what the Most High says. And he said, thou cannot see my face. Saying, Moses, you cannot see my face. Moses was begging. He's like, I want to see your glory. For there shall no man see me and live. So how can we just read in Exodus 24 that Moses and 70 of the elders saw the Most High, where right here it says no man can see the Most High and live? The Most High told Moses himself no one can see him and live. Well, this is where we have to use several pieces and put it together to get the understanding. And that's why it's essential to use precept on precept. We need to use this. This is why and how we can understand scripture. Okay, verse 21. And the Lord said, behold, there is a place by, and there shall stand upon a rock. Verse 22. And it shall come to pass while my glory passes by, that I will put thee on a cliff of the rock, and I will cover thee with my hand while I pass by. Verse 23. And I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back part, but my face shalt thou not see. So God allowed Moses to see a glimpse, but he still couldn't see his face, like 23 says. So even Moses couldn't see the Most High. All right, so let's dig deep into this. Let's dig deeper. Let's go to Numbers chapter 12. And let's see what it says. We'll start at verse 6. And it reads, and he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision. So he's saying, so the Most High is saying, if there's a prophet, I'm going to let them see me in a vision. And look, let's keep reading. Look what it says. And I will speak unto them in a dream. So in a vision or in a dream, the prophet is going to see him. So when the prophet spoke to the Most High and they had these visions or these dreams. So here we got the scripture. That's how they got understanding. They got it from visions and a dream. Now, notice God put Moses apart. He's above these prophets. Look what he said. He said Moses is different. Verse 7. My servant Moses is not so. So he's saying, look, Moses ain't like these prophets. He's not like them. Who is faithful in all my house. Verse 8, he says, with him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord shall he beheld. He's saying, look, Moses is going to be able to see a image. A image. What is the image? It said a similitude. What similitude mean? Something similar to God. So he didn't see God. He saw something similar. So Moses and the 70 elders, where it says they saw God, it actually was a similitude, something similar. And notice, if you kept reading about the account where Moses went up, they stayed at a certain location and Moses went up. They had to stay. They couldn't even pass a certain location. They had stayed, and then Moses went up himself. Okay. So they saw a similitude, something similar, just like when Moses was speaking through the burning bush, consuming fire. If you actually read that account, you'll see that it was a angel Moses was talking to, but the angel was speaking on behalf of God. The angel was a mediator. So we shouldn't be surprised that nobody could see God, right? Even on our best days, we're still filthy. Our best days. I mean, think about it. God, so holy, so clean, so set apart. Like, man just gonna just walk up, and just see God like it's all good? No, you shouldn't be surprised. So let's go to the book of John and see what it says about this topic that we're speaking on right now. Let's get another piece of the puzzle. The book of John. So it's John chapter 1, verse 18. Look what John says. John says only the Messiah saw the Most High. It's the only person. So not only did we read these accounts in the Old Testament, in the New Testament saying the same thing. Look, it says, no man has seen God at any time. No man. He says, no man has seen God at any time. Look what it says. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. So it says, no man has seen God at any time, including Moses. And we read that in Exodus chapter 33. The Most High just allowed him to see a glimpse of his back part. That's it. Okay, so we see why precept on precept is very important. It's essential. Not just reading in context. Precept on precept. You must get a puzzle from here, puzzle from there. You actually got to dissect these scriptures. All right. So let's get one more example of using precept on precept. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 5. Deuteronomy chapter 5. And we'll go to verse 8 and look what it says. Thou shalt not make thee any graven images or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Okay, so right here it's saying do not make any graven images above, in heaven, on earth, or underneath the water. So no images, right? Verse 9 says, thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them. So it's saying, don't make these graven images and don't bow down to them. So if we pay attention to the context of 8 and 9, it's saying, don't make these images to bow down and worship them. That's all it's saying. But I've seen people, and I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all seen this as well. Some people even go as far as they say that they can't have pictures of their kids in their house, pictures of themselves, and anything. No paintings, anything. I seen people go that far. But if we use precept on precept, we will see having an image is not sin. Is when you start to worship that image. How? Well, let's prove it. Okay. Let's go to Exodus 25. That's Exodus 25. And we'll go to verse 18. Now, this is the Most High speaking through Moses to the children of Israel to make cherubim, which is angels, to put it on the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, verse 18. Look what it says. And thou shalt make 2 cherubims of gold, and beaten wood shalt thou make them in the 2 ends of the mercy seat. This is mercy seat who was on the Ark of the Covenant. So now, if we cannot make images in heaven, on earth, and underneath the earth, why is God then instructing the Israelites to put 2 angels on the Ark of the Covenant? So if we couldn't make these images, wouldn't this be sin? Wouldn't this be contradiction? No. That's why we need to keep it in context as well as use precept on precept. This would be breaking the commandment. God would be telling these people to break the commandment if we couldn't make images at all. No, but is making them and worshiping them. That's the whole context of it. Making these graven images and worshiping them. So that was another example of why we must and should use precept on precept, as well as keeping it in context. So thank you guys for studying with me. And with that, I give you guys shalom.